Willie Spencer of Toronto cut into Chapman's game by luring some 20 pros away to ride in a new six-day circuit.
Chapman would not brook somebody else riding for another promoter. They had to either ride for him or no other promoter. If any of those racers signed contracts to ride for another promoter, he would blackball them and not give them another contract.
Chapman retaliated by banning them as outlaws from the National Cycling Union, the sport's governing body over which he presided.
Chapman felt very hurt that my dad would turn his back on him and go to another league, but it was all about money. The other league offered bigger contracts, and these guys were raising families and stuff. You know, they had obligations.
Chapman's rental contracts in New York's Garden and a downtown Chicago arena gave him established venues. Spencer secured alternative sites, the Knightsbridge Armory in New York and the Rialto on Chicago's North Side. He solicited renegades with the promise of constructing larger velodromes of 9 laps to the mile, which riders preferred. His inaugural six-day battle was in January 1928 in Chicago. Afterward, he planned weekday sprint events to draw attendance and cash flow. The track's final turn leading into the home stretch had a shoulder that threw riders into the air. Spectators witnessed a record number of spills and disastrous crashes. By the time the Outlaws finished, they looked like wounded soldiers. Walthour Jr. was so battered that he finished and went directly to the hospital in an ambulance. Dismal gate receipts ended the outlaw effort, but the rebellion still smoldered. On January 6, 1929, Rickard was operated on for appendicitis, but too late. He died. Chapman, who was now 50, looked likely to succeed him as president of the Garden, yet that honor went to a Garden board member, a decorated Army officer and former All-American Yale football star named Colonel John Reed Kilpatrick. On the notorious Black Tuesday of October 29, 1929, a selling storm on the New York stock market created the most disastrous day in Wall Street history. Banks failed across the country by the hundreds. Businesses folded by the thousands.
My dad says he had a big savings account, that he had won a lot of money in Europe. That's, as of today, that's where the money is in bike racing. And he had over $200,000 in the local bank in New Jersey. The banks, during the crash, they called it, he lost every cent. Never did retrieve it.
1/3 of the nation's workforce couldn't find work. 6 days represented a welcome diversion. The tracks turned into a place inside where people could camp.
In the 30s, I think that things were starting to wane a little. It was the Depression. There wasn't as much money around, and I don't think the riders made the same kind of purses that they did in the 20s.
For a few years, Sixes kept a steady flow of 100,000 paying customers passing through the Garden's turnstiles.
It took a while for the effects of the Depression to really take hold. Meanwhile, audiences still remain strong attending the six-day races, that is, buying tickets and going to watch.
Chapman reduced the price of tickets to an average of $1, scaled back the contract fees to a range of $50 to $300, compared with $100 to $1,000 in the 20s. And he cut the prize money in half to $25,000. He extended the sixes to 147 hours by starting the event at 9 p.m. Sunday and running them to midnight the following Saturday. Each of his Garden 6 days had a total budget of $75,000. It looked like this. Cost of materials and labor to build, clean, and dismantle the velodrome, $10,000. Riders' prize money, $25,000. National Cycling Association sanctioning percentage, $1,000. Other expenses, including promotion, $8,000. Chapman, 25% profit, $6,000. Rent, $25,000.